We've gone through the setup of our Synology NAS and we're able to log into DSM to access the control panel. Now from the menu on top we can find various applications or settings. From the package center, we're even able to install additional programs, just like a mobile app store. We're not going to cover that as we won't need that for basic file sharing, but feel free to explore that. But before we can start using the NAS, we first need to create our volume. So from that menu, we're gonna go to Storage Manager. Click on the Volume tab. By default, DSM has already created a volume for us, but with the SHR RAID type. This is a RAID system from Synology, which is for if you don't know what you're doing. But we know exactly what we're doing, so we're going to remove this volume. Click Remove. Then we're gonna go to the storage pool and also remove this one. We can now go ahead and go back to the volume and click on Create to set up a new volume and to create a new storage pool. Choose Custom again, otherwise it will create the same SHR RAID that we had before. And since we deleted the previous storage pool, we're gonna have to create a new one. And then it's going to ask us what we want to do with the storage pool. And for us, better performance is more important, unless you like to create multiple volumes, but that's not gonna be necessary for us. So choose better performance and hit Next. And now it's going to ask us which type of RAID that we would like to create. And this is something very important and what this lesson is going to be about. Traditional USB drives usually consist out of one hard drive. If that drive fails, you've lost all of your data. It's that simple. A RAID system will utilize multiple drives and spread your data across them. And this provides faster speeds and a data protection, as when one or more drives fail, you can always restore your data back. Now we have all of our servers configured in RAID 5. But that is a personal preference. Every RAID system has different speeds and security levels. For example, RAID 0 simply combines all of your drives into one volume without any redundancy. And although this RAID type gives you fast speeds, having one drive fail could lead to data loss, so I would not recommend choosing this RAID type. The second is RAID 1, and this RAID type is going to duplicate all of your data to a backup drive. So you'll need at least two drives. If one of those two drives fail, you can simply swap it with a new one without data loss. The downside is that you'll lose half of your total capacity, as for every drive you'll need a backup drive. Speeds are slower than other RAID systems as well. RAID 5 is probably one of the most popular, as it only needs one drive as a reserve for data protection. You do need a minimum of 3 drives for this setup. A maximum of 1 drive can fail, which if you swap with a new one, Synology can rebuild all of your data. Now the speed is much faster than a RAID 1, but with only 1 drive that can fail, it gives less redundancy. RAID 6 is about the same as a RAID 5, only here you'll need at least 4 drives. 2 of them are used for redundancy, which means that 2 drives can fail at the same time and you'll still be able to reconstruct your data. So it's more safe, but you'll need to sacrifice the capacity of 2 drives. And then we've got RAID 10, also called RAID 1 and 0, as it's literally a combination of both RAID 0 and RAID 1. You'll get the fast speeds of RAID 0, but you'll lose half of your capacity because of the redundancy of RAID 1. So, if data protection is the most important to you, I would choose between RAID 1 or RAID 6. For the best performance, I'd recommend RAID 10 because RAID 0 gives no protection whatsoever. And if storage is the most important to you, then RAID 5 is the way to go. You can still have 1 drive fail, so to me personally, I feel safe with that thought. Now, chances are that you're leaning a lot towards RAID 10 because of its best performance. The more drives you have, the better speed performance will be. But that's just in theory. One thing to always remember is that the speed at which you can write or read media files is always limited to the weakest link in the chain. Your Synology NAS is connected to a router or switch, which has its own speeds. The cables that you use, the network cards, your computer, and so much more. All of these elements weigh on the speed performance. So that's why a RAID 5 is not that bad. Plus, as a video editor, we need lots of capacity, so go ahead and choose RAID 5 and click Next. Then select all of the drives that you would like to combine, which is gonna be everything, and then click Next. Now all of your drives will be erased, hit OK, and then choose BTRFS as the file system. This is a newer file system, so only if you're going to work together with older servers or Linux environments, you can pick ext4, which I doubt you'll need. We're gonna use all of the volume, so simply hit Next. We're then prompted with a last overview of all of the settings, which look good to me, so hit Apply. You can always go back, remove the volume and the storage and do it all over again. Do remember that your files will be deleted for this process. Now, creating this RAID could also take some time as it's undergoing a consistency check. You can already start using your NAS, but just know that your server is gonna be slower because of this. Once that is done, you can enjoy the full performance of your NAS. In the next lesson, we're gonna take a look at how to configure folders and share them over the network.